some things to consider and some of the things I've noticed. Like one of the last videos I did, I was still in bed and my hair wasn't combed, so it kind of looked goofy, kind of looked unkempt or whatever. And I noticed that that video had considerably, like hundreds of less views than the one after it, where my hair is combed and looks more kempt and stuff. So people judge things by their physical nature, and it's hard for me to remember the mentality that I had when I was a child, and then maybe as a teenager, and as time went on. But I sure noticed, it seems that young people today, they really put a value on physical appearance. It's like they don't realize, some people or whatever, it's like they don't realize that there's more to life than what you see, and there's more to people than what you see. It's like the valuable things are the things that you don't see, but the things that are really pushed in today's culture are only the things that you can see. And it's like, it's crazy. Like, I wonder if that's one of the reasons the Epstein files were I don't know, blown off, or didn't have the impact that they could have or should have. Like, can you imagine if we actually had received videos of what was described as being done in the Epstein files? Like if the public received videos of children being raped to death, murdered, and eaten, like was described in the Epstein files, do you think there would be some different response or different reaction? Perhaps then people would have quit going to jobs, quit paying taxes, quit participating in this system that's been created. If they actually saw the videos of what was described in the Epstein files, unspeakable horrors yet spoken in those files. I believe that if we had videos of that, society would have essentially crumbled. I believe that would have been it. That would have been it. But I wonder if that is a part of the operation, like the psychological operation that ended up stemming from the release of the Epstein files. So everything that's released, informational, I believe people, they sit back and they analyze the public response, and determine, they just get the information. So I wonder if the data centers, if the quickness with which those in power have decided to go forth with the data centers, I wonder if that's related to the response of the public, that the public had to the Epstein files. So, like, people can read about these horrible things, but they don't see it, right? They don't see it. And so, because I have little doubt that if we receive thousands and thousands of videos of politicians and those people in power who are in the Epstein files writing back and forth regarding murdering children and raping them and disposing of their bodies and getting permission from Epstein to go ahead and just kill them and torture videos how they like them, if we would have received the videos of these things, I think that would have been it. that would have been the end of society. At least there would be, I believe, massive uproar, like people, once they see it, that would have been the straw that breaks the camel's back, at least for a short time. But then, considering if that would have happened, the people in power would have used that opportunity, that chaos. Still, they would have used that to their advantage, in my opinion. But that's neither here nor there, because that's not what happened. But it brings me more understanding regarding what people view as important, and especially in this new generation, these latest generations of people, they seem to put so much importance on what they see. Like they've got this look maxing thing, people playing like this cosplay stuff where they dress up, and then I consider like dating nowadays, like it's this, they go off of what they see physically. And what I don't see so much of are people judging people by the fruits that they produce, like by the genuine actions that people do. That's what we should be judging people by, are the genuine actions that people do, not by just physical appearance. You can dress yourself up as anything. You can practice making yourself appear such and such and such and such. And can you imagine people in the dating game or market today expecting a lasting relationship simply off of physical appearance? Can you imagine that? Expecting to have a lasting relationship just going off of physical appearance, like, oh, that guy's hot, or oh, that female's hot. And that's it. Or that person is physically attractive, so they'd better perform and give me super duper orgasms, because that'll be the basis of a relationship. That, and how well they can support me financially. And when you talk about supporting someone financially, okay, so what does it take to be a successful, it depends on the person, it depends on the company they work for, but in my experience, in order to be like an essential part of a company, you end up having to comply yourself to that company's standards and guidelines. So you end up conforming yourself to what's desirable for a company in order to retain your job and rise up in the ranks of that company, right? So you have to make yourself a valuable asset to a company. So are you compromising yourself? Are you conforming yourself to the desired image of that company that's required to be an effective asset, a valuable part of that? So essentially you're choosing, in some cases, many cases, all cases, I don't know, oh man, it's a mess. And that's what's valued today. So if I were to conform myself to suppress, to conform myself to whatever a company thought was valuable, I would essentially be selling my soul to make money. Because as it is, what's valuable to me and my soul is following after righteousness, love and honesty, integrity, following what I believe is true. These are not necessarily what a company out to reap profit from human beings are going to value. You do whatever it takes to get that extra customer. You do whatever it takes to sell that product. You do whatever it takes to make that customer happy. Or to get that customer returning for more product, or to increase the quality of that product or whatever. But you end up having to conform yourself to what the company desires instead of conforming yourself to what the Creator desires. Those are like two divergent paths oftentimes. Unless it's a position where God has placed you into it, then you'll end up glorifying Him by so it's like man, I just feel compassion for those people. And so it's in the Bible. People were disobedient as they disobeyed God to take a physical food and put it in their bodies to receive spiritual insight and understanding, right? And so we get through all these processes, we get through all this history, and we watch the result of that original disobedience playing out in history. And here we are. And so then Christ comes and He claims that He is spiritual food. That following Him, His teachings, He is the spiritual bread that comes down from heaven, from God. And by feeding on that bread, by practicing His spiritual teachings, that is the spiritual bread that turns around and negates the physical food. So He calls Himself spiritual food, food indeed, that negates that physical food way back that was taken in the garden to receive spiritual insight and understandings, the wisdom. Eve saw that it was attractive look, it was a good looking fruit, and it was valuable for receiving wisdom and understanding. So it's a physical food taken internally that they thought they would receive wisdom and understanding from. And then comes Christ, who claims to be spiritual food to receive wisdom and understanding by practicing the teachings that then end up, through things that I don't understand fully, negating the curse that was received back in the day when people chose to be disobedient to receive physical food. So they received the curse through disobedience and the expectation of spiritual insight by eating a physical, material thing. But Christ teaches, instead of pursuing the material, He teaches to pursue the spiritual. So he teaches to sacrifice whatever it takes in the material in order to receive the spiritual. But people in this world, in this age, are taught by society to sacrifice whatever you need to spiritually in order to receive the material. Because in this society, in this age, in this generation, what is taught is that the material is the most important thing. What you can see, what you can hear on this physical, what you can touch, what you can smell, what you can show off to your friends. What your neighbors will get jealous because you have. These are the things that are important. And society teaches us to do whatever it takes to acquire these things, because then you have the good life. The cars and the houses and the boats. So it's the Antichrist system that teaches you to do what is the opposite of what Christ teaches. So Christ teaches to sacrifice whatever you must in the physical. You sacrifice your home. You sacrifice your wealth. You sacrifice whatever gets in the way of the attainment of the spiritual food, which is walking after the teachings of Christ and practicing the teachings of Christ. So he teaches to do whatever it takes to receive his teachings and to walk in those teachings. The world teaches to sacrifice whatever it takes spiritually in order to receive that material possession, because that's what'll cause you to be esteemed in this world if you have the boats and the houses and the cars. And that's why it's so important for them, for the controllers and for the social engineers, to control culture, to control the media and propaganda streams and the narrative of people talking back and forth. They want to encourage people to esteem what is valuable for the ruling class to hold and retain and increase their power, and what is important for them to hold and increase their power is for the citizens to increasingly value what it is that those elites control. And those elites control money and wealth and social esteem, that because they control the culture of this illusion of value that comes from the material world. But true value comes from what you cannot see, but you can see the fruits of it. True value comes from genuine love, righteousness, and the values that are outlined in the scriptures as being of godly values. Those are the antithesis of what is valued by society and culture, because there's no way that you can make really a physical, materialistic profit off of practicing the teachings of righteousness that are laid out in scriptures. The opposite of that is what's profitable to receiving esteem from the culture that has been given to the people by Satan through his emissaries, which are the ruling elites who use money and the desire for money and wealth and power in order to trap people, to create slaves, which is why we have this society today, because people are following the teachings of Satan and materialism and the desire for wealth, for the things in the material physical world over the things of righteousness in the spiritual world. And so I see people doing what they're doing, and like the dating, like, oh, he's hot, or she's hot, or she can give me really good orgasms, or he can support me financially, or she can support me financially, or together we can merge our empires in this physical realm and value. And so it would be profitable and advantageous for us to marry. The values that are pushed in this culture, in this world, this physical world that we can see, are anti-Christ values, and it is a requirement for people to pursue these anti-Christ systems that are pushed in culture through media and the propaganda of movies and whatever dialogue between people is uplifted by the society, is increasingly more anti-Christ. And those dialogues between people that are pushed down to the bottom and covered up and not promoted, well, we'll just leave it there, I guess. But yeah, just some thoughts I was having this morning about where we are as a global society, and watching this thing play out. Yeah, people valuing the material over the spiritual, and having to sacrifice their own spiritual beings, essentially trading pieces of their soul in order to be an effective part of that company, to make the money, to get the girl, or just this physical representation of the human being being seen as valuable in order to be effective in the dating game. So you have to look like you have money, or you have to look like you are physically attractive. You have to look like you can get that boy or that girl super duper orgasms and be valuable monetarily. It doesn't, my whole point in these little diatribes that I do is I want people to see the fallacy of the BS of the culture of human beings. What's pushed on us. Because there is a culture of human beings that are following the teachings of righteousness, of truth and wisdom and understanding, and not pursuing material things over spiritual things. There is that culture. I'm a part of it, and that's a part of the Spirit of God. And I don't have all wisdom. I don't have all understandings, but I do know that if you follow this culture of materialism that has been pushed on people in order to control them and enslave them, I just want to grab more people out of the BS and put them in the seats of the truth. That's all I want to do. I want people to be seated with God instead of seated with Satan. I don't want people to be continuously selling their souls for material things that don't matter, but I want them to be doing what it takes to receive the eternal values of God, because He's loving and He's good, and the things of this world are deceptive, and they're not going to get you anywhere. But I believe also that He's got everything under control, and I don't even know if I'm supposed to play any part in it. Maybe I'm just bored but I have what I believe to be a message that maybe somebody needs to hear. Maybe it, because all I'm doing is repeating the teachings of Christ in different ways, as far as I know. Right? Maybe somebody will hear it. I don't know. I don't even know. I don't even know. But the scripture says that my entire job as a believer in Christ, my work here is just to believe. But a result of that is that I end up being kind of an antithesis of the culture that's pushed on society. So it's like I watch the teachings of Christ play out. As I follow him, I watch the truth of him play out. And as I pursue what I know in my being to be good, which are his teachings, it puts me at odds with the society. It puts me at odds with the culture. It means I'm not a friend of the world, just as he said would happen. You're either a friend of God or you are a friend of the world. There's no middle ground, because he despises apparently those people who try to walk that middle line and say, one toe in the world water and one toe in the God water. By following Christ and the teachings of righteousness, you end up being put at odds with the culture that is being pushed on society and being accepted at whatever level, at whatever age, by individuals. But he knows who he's chosen, and he can do whatever he wants, so I don't know. I just know what is good, and God is good. The teachings of Christ are good. The teachings that are profitable to continuing the enslavement to the elites who themselves are enslaved by Satan through their own desire for and lusts for power and wealth and money and control. I know that's not good, but they have all the power in this world that's been given to them by Satan. It's been allowed by God to been given to them by Satan for his purposes. And so you're either a friend of that system, or you're going to be pulled out of that system eventually, or you're a friend of God's. And even though we're all unrighteous and all evil, we strive and fight and struggle against the spiritual rulers in high places that's what we struggle against. Well, anyway.